What's up, Junkies? Welcome back in for yet another wonderful edition of Pigskin Junkies. Myself, Michael Larson, the big brother, Jared Larson, and with us once again, the Scott Panza. Fellas, I normally say I would love to be an NFL player, but if there's one NFL player I would never, ever in my life want to be, would be Josh Rosen. I mean, this guy looks like he's going to get his shot in Miami, and then this organization absolutely implodes and gets rid of the entire house, and they could draft every quarterback they want in the next two drafts. That's just one big storyline coming out of the end of preseason football. Fellas, what are some storylines that are catching your attention after the end of preseason?
So I'm waiting to see what happens with Zeke. It sounds like a lot of news that the talks are progressing, and he'll be signed maybe this week. So I can't imagine he's going to play a ton week one, but he's going to get going. And then Melvin Gordon continuing to hold out. I think he's just taking terrible advice. You're never going to get this money back. Your shelf life as a running back is already short as it is. You need to maximize the dollars while you can. And if you haven't noticed, running backs don't have a ton of leverage in this in the current NFL. And my last piece is on Shady McCoy going to the Chiefs. I think it's a massive whiff for the Jags, who need some running back depth. They just claimed some guy off waivers from the Saints today. That was a perfect guy to have come in, motivated in a division that's absolutely wide open. But Chiefs scooped him, and it looks like they're paying him some real cashish. So he's going to get some serious run this year, and I think it was a good move. It sounds like the Pats were actually in on the mix, which I'm a little surprised about. But the running backs are the talk of the town. What do you think, Jared?
Yeah, Pats probably didn't want to compete on price, because I was surprised when I saw that number of $4 million. I think it was $3 something guaranteed, right? So it's basically like he's getting top running back money, or at least upper third, we'll call it, which was very, very surprising to me. But I am excited to see him in that offense. I hope and I trust candidly that Andy Reid's going to find a way to get him the ball in some space. And, I think he's going to fumble every time the way he carries it, but he never seems to do that. So I'm excited to see that. What the Texans did was rather perplexing to me, the way they got rid of Clowney and then traded for Tunsil. That whole swap didn't make sense to me at first. And then, like Micah said, you see Miami come out and they're just clearing house, which, that picture became a little bit more clear once all those moves were made. But I'm excited. We're not doing this till now. It's Sunday night, East Coast. We're getting ready here in Florida for Hurricane Dorian. But I was going to pump up the Dolphins, and then all these moves came out today, and I'm like, well, good thing we didn't do the podcast like yesterday, or I would have had very different takes. Would have been like doing our AFC South preview before Andrew Luck retired. Oh, wait, we already did that.
I was looking at the Dolphins as a team that was going to be good to bet early in the year with the coaching transition. But like you said, they've given up. So the spread initially was Ravens -3.5 in Miami on Sunday. They have no offensive line to speak of. They got rid of one of their best defensive players in Kiko Alonso. And they gave up Kenny Stills. So, I mean, I don't know who Ryan Fitzpatrick's going to throw to. I guess I don't feel bad for him, though, because he's about to get paid once again to, be on a team that's not going to make the playoffs.
Just chucking it. Yeah, you want to talk about a fantasy sleeper right there. Ryan Fitzpatrick, because they're going to be losing a lot of games, and he is going to be spinning it a lot.
The problem is he's going to get absolutely trucked every week, because they already have one of the worst offensive lines, and they got rid of one of the best left tackles in the game. So I don't know how they're going to keep him upright.
I think you could have said that about – yeah, I mean, yeah. Unbelievable. The gas mask cost him like $20 million. I think you could have said that about him last year in Tampa. That's all.
Speaking of the Texans, so one of the bets that I was talking about earlier is Ryan, first coach fired. If this experiment goes poorly, where they gave up all these picks to bring in Tunsil, and they still have a bad offensive line, they don't win games, this guy's getting trucked out of there as well. So,
yeah, see ya.
And I'm still short the Texans, because this is the NFL. It's not the NBA where you plug and play and the guy just fits in. There's so much that's dependent on timing and rhythm and everyone working as a cohesive unit. And they're just expecting all these players to come together. Week one is a week away. at the Saints, which is one of the toughest places to play in the NFL, and you expect them to just go out there and light the field on fire, I don't see it. I'm so short the Texans this year, and I still think that division is wide open for my Jags.
Yeah, not probably the worst place in the NFL to trying to be catching up on cadence of a new quarterback in the Superdome or whatever they're calling it these days. I guess it'll always be the Superdome in my head.
And they still have a great pass rush. I believe is it Mercedes-Benz Stadium?
Yeah, I don't know. I always call it the Superdome because that's what it used to be. But now, Mercedes-Benz Superdome now. We got to get our plugs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, versus the Mercedes-Benz Stadium is where the Falcons play.
That's it. That's it.
So Stadium Dome.
Same division, not to be confused with the other place.
Yeah. So I guess with that, we can dive right into it and talk our NFC, AFC East schedules. I know, Scott, you've been super juiced about this one. Jared and I have been saving up some Stidham talk, obviously, with the Patriots, and now they've released Hoyer the Destroyer.
Yeah.
And
they sent a clear message. Stidham is to stay. So I watched preseason. I think Stidham looks pretty good. He's got some wheels on him. He made some nice passes. Why did he fail at Auburn?
Jared, do you want to take this one?
Feet. Yeah, I was going to say, where do I start? No pocket presence, happy feet, didn't throw the ball away. I also think there's a huge Auburn, and the way that Gus Malzahn calls the offense, runs the offense, needs someone that can run and is mobile. While Stidham, I would say, is athletic, he's not a runner. So even if you watched the game last night, Bo Nix was able to actually make plays with his feet. Stidham can't do that. The offensive line was worse last year than it is this year. So, there's a couple things going on there. But I don't think anyone doubts his arm talent and power. It's more of a mobility thing. But again, if you've been scheming for Tom Brady, who's basically a paraplegic back there for the last 15 years, I think he'll be successful in that system.
You can't take shots at the GOAT like that, Jared. Scott's going to come through the Skype call and fight you.
The dude wears like pom-pom legs, can't run, but it doesn't matter. He's won like 9 Super Bowls, so who cares?
Yeah, I think what Jared said
He's like, I'll do what I want, dude. Tom Brady.
I think everything about Stidham you said, Jared, is correct. He had definitely happy feet, and that was understandable because his offensive line in front of him was absolutely atrocious. And now I think when you go to the NFL, you're going to have a pretty solid offensive line, especially when it's the Patriots. And no one ever at all questioned his arm ability, his accuracy at the quarterback position. Now he's just got a chance to shine and actually sit back there and throw the ball. You saw it 2 years ago when he had a running game and an offensive line that was able to protect him, how good he was with the football. But I do think if he gets hit once or twice, he starts to look down a lot faster than keeping his eyes down the field. And definitely athletic enough to extend a play, but he extends the play looking to throw, not extends the play looking to run and gain yards. But that's my 2 cents. So, Sky, I guess, would you want to start with I'm not even going to ask you. We're going to start with the NFC East because then we can save the Pats for last because that's what everyone wants to hear. So we'll start with...
That's exactly where I wanted to start.
Awesome.
But let's hit it. Let's kick it off with what I think is the best team in football right now, the Philadelphia Eagles. Best offensive line in the game, one of the best defensive lines in the game. Offensive weapons out the wazoo. I am all over the Eagles over. It's juiced up at over 9.5 and -176. I think it's a pretty solid game to bet because they still get to play the Giants and they get to play the Redskins 4 times this year. They have the AFC East as well, so they got some Jets and they got the Dolphins in there. And frankly, this team is just absolutely loaded. Carson Wentz plus 1,300 MVP. I've already hopped on that train. I love Carson Wentz this year. If you saw in the best ball league that we had, I took Carson Wentz. I've been drafting him like crazy in fantasy. I think the writers owe him a MVP from 2 years ago when he got hurt. So if he has any semblance of an awesome season like he did back then, I feel like there's a little of that juju out there. I think Carson Wentz is in for a monster season with everyone they got on the offensive side of the ball. They have 4 true talents at wide receiver: Goddard, Ertz, and a very strong running game with Miles Sanders and all the other guys back there. Love the Eagles. I think they're Super Bowl bound, assuming they stay healthy. I mean, with the NFL, it's all about the injury bug. All over the Eagles, over 9.5. Laid the -176. I love it.
I know Eagles fans are excited to have Case Keenum and the Washington Redskins coming back. Because last time they saw Case Keenum flash back to the NFC Championship game when he was quarterback to the Vikings. And we all know how that one went, and that one hurt me emotionally, so I'm going to move on from that subject.
Oh, and while we're on that, just really quick, MVP is so much dependent on how you close the seasons. This is how the Eagles end their season. At Dolphins, home against the Giants, at Redskins, home against the Cowboys, at Giants. Is that not just tailor-made for a guy who's making his MVP case? So that closing schedule is just perfect for these Eagles if there's any tightness in the NFC East there.
Yeah, I mean, there's one question that I would ask about the Philadelphia Eagles, and is this a house of cards that comes falling down if and when Carson Wentz gets hurt again? Nick Foles is not backing him up this year. They were extremely fortunate to have him in the last 2 years, I suppose, to step in and finish the Super Bowl season, which I think that team was absolutely stacked. They took a little bit of a regression last year. Not surprising. Oftentimes you see teams win the Super Bowl and take a little bit of a notch back. But I agree with Scott. I'm pretty bullish on this team. I would bet the over 9.5. A lot of that has to do with a poor opinion of the three other teams in their division, of which they get to play 6 games. So, and then as Scott said, they draw pretty well out of the AFC East. Like this team a lot. I would bet it, for more if I didn't have that concern of injury risk with Carson Wentz. But I think if he sticks on the team for 16 games and 17 weeks, I would expect him to have a lot of home games in the playoffs.
Moving on to the Cowboys, I have them projected 9-10 wins. The over-under is 9 plus 105. With all the Zeke news, I just don't think it's worth betting. Even if Zeke doesn't come back, their opening schedule immediately, I should say. If Zeke doesn't come back immediately, their opening schedule sets up pretty well for them. So they don't take the Eagles until, week 7. They open with the Giants, Redskins, Dolphins. So, they can play Tony Pollard those first 3 games and be just fine. Still questions about Dak and their offensive weapons other than Zeke and Amari Cooper. Amari Cooper really showed out in a couple of games last year, but maybe see a little bit more consistency out of him to see, if I feel better about betting the over. Their defense is still stacked. They're a good team. I think they're playoff bound. I'm just not going to say that they're a lock on the over, so that's more of a stay away from me.
Yeah, what's the number? 8.5?
9.5.
Yeah, I think this team wins in spite of itself. I think the head coach is a complete moron. I think Dak is decent. Zeke has no leverage, and I heard it earlier this week. Scott just mentioned it. I think their first 3 or 4 games are pretty straightforward to where, if they go 3-0, 4-0, 3-1, something like that, they're going to flip Zeke the middle finger and say, we'll pay you what we want to pay you. Otherwise, we're just going to keep handing it to this guy. So I don't understand the Zeke stuff. I don't understand the Melvin Gordon stuff. It just makes no sense to me. These guys have no leverage. I think they're getting shit advice from someone, and I don't know who it is. But I agree with Scott. I think the rest of this team is really, really, really good, specifically the offensive line. And I think that has created and led to a lot of the success from Dak Prescott. I'm not a huge Dak guy, but at the same time, I think you look at the success, the skill players they have, in addition to the success on the offensive line, plus a pretty good defense. And it's like, well, you have to pay him. Because I think they'll just continue to be this 8 or 9 win team because they're really good, but don't have that, we'll call it factor, both in the front office and the head coach and at the quarterback position to get them over the hump. So, 8, 9, 10 wins, none of the above is going to scare me or surprise me, I should say.
So everyone's feeling pretty confident in America's team, huh? Because whether you like it or not, they're going to be on your screen at that afternoon spot on Fox. Whether you give
drunk Troy Aikman telling me how great I saw him at the Wynn one time playing blackjack.
What type of stakes?
The chips were black, so 100-ish.
So
He had a couple of them out there, but
they have 5 primetime games, and then they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 other games that are going to be in the 425 or the I'm including the Thanksgiving game in there. So yeah, you're going to be seeing this team a lot this year. That Fox standalone game, yeah, brutal.
I'm going to tweet every time they show Garrett with just a stupefied idiot look on his face, like, what was that? What just happened?
Another guy I can't believe who still has a job in the NFL.
Lame duck. Yeah, how does he have a job?
Befuddles me. I don't know. Maybe it'll be Lincoln Riley's job in a year.
I love Lincoln Riley.
Moving on to the Giants, their over-under number is at 6. I have them projected at 5 wins. The under is -135, 6. I don't want to touch this just because I don't know when Daniel Jones is going to come in and maybe he gives this team a spark. But if I had to guess, Daniel Jones will be starting Week 7 home against the Cardinals after the Giants go to Foxborough on a Thursday night and get probably just hammered. I expect the Giants to just open 1-5, and it's a perfect time to get Daniel Jones in there and finish off the season and start with the Cardinals, who are just an absolutely atrocious defense. I think it's a perfect spot. So Week 7, Daniel Jones. So I think there's props out there who starts more games, Eli Manning or Daniel Jones. That's my guess because the Giants' opening schedule is brutal. At the Cowboys, home against the Bills, at Bucks is their schedule is not that bad.
maybe Week 10.
Bucks. They still stink. So they have no Golden Tate, and who's the other guy who's hurt? Oh, Sterling Shepard's hurt. So I'm not a fan of these Giants. Daniel Jones. We'll see what we get out of him, but this is another no play for me, just because of uncertainty with Daniel Jones, and he looked pretty good in preseason.
Yeah, no opinion on the total here, primarily because of exactly what Scott talked about. They have this feigned sense of loyalty to Eli Manning because David Tyree smushed the ball against his helmet. Eli Manning is total garbage, and the only question is, when do they make the move? Do they make the move this year? And then just because Daniel Jones threw a few slant routes in the preseason doesn't mean that they actually have any ability to score points in the regular season against real defenses. So I will be tuning in quite closely. We all know that if you listen to this podcast, Micah is a fanboy of Daniel Jones, so I'm sure he's quite bullish on the Giants. But
I was shocked, though, by the pick. I said that. I told you guys I was surprised it took him that early.
I mean, these teams are just going to keep chasing quarterbacks because it is absolutely 100% essential to being any good in the NFL today. So they'll just keep burning them because if you don't have a quarterback, none of this other stuff matters.
Yeah. But, I mean, calling Eli, what'd you say, total garbage?
He's trash.
Okay, but would you rather have Eli or Case Keenum?
This year, Case Keenum.
Really?
This year, Case Keenum.
He's
absolutely.
awful.
All right.
They should have benched him last year.
Yeah,
and they did, and they did just like, no, yeah. He's
been terrible.
His pick rate is insane.
Okay.
And it used to be okay because he would rip deep balls and get touchdowns and throw picks. And I can make the case that interceptions are worth it if you're pressing it downfield and scoring. But now he's throwing like these dink and dunks, and then every 12th attempt is an interception. It's like, come on, dude, you're throwing 9-yard routes here.
Well, I guess that's what
I turned into Hornibrook from Wisconsin.
Because you're out here saying that because there was a football smushed to what's-his-butt's helmet, that's the only reason Eli Manning was good. But I feel like that's a bit of a smack towards his career in the NFL.
No. I'm saying that's why the Giants fans and the organization have been so allegiant to him is because he won them a Super Bowl, which I think was at best
their defense
included elements of luck. Yeah. I think he extracts a lot of. We're
trying not to rub this in too much on Scott here. I mean, we don't want to talk too much about Super Bowl.
Never happened. And then
we can't say the name. Washington's football team.
I will not get caught up in saying the R words. The Redskins, they stink. Awful management, awful leadership. Starts at the top. disaster, dumpster fire. The over-under 6, heavy under. This team is terrible. They don't have a very forgiving schedule either. So backing up the trucks for sure against the Redskins. I got them maybe 4 wins. They're in the bottom 5 for sure.
Who's going to play quarterback?
It's going to be Case Keenum, and I give him 8 weeks before the offensive line just breaks his collarbone. And then you'll get Dwayne Haskins, who also doesn't look fantastic, still very raw, and maybe you'll get some Colt McCoy, but he's coming off an injury too. So there's no good options there.
Speaking of, how is Colt McCoy still in the league? How is he still in the league?
If Mac Brown came back to coaching, Colt McCoy can still be playing football.
Like
those two are eternally linked.
Well, yeah, I was gonna say, what is it with like the last name Gruden and just loving shitty middle of the road quarterbacks?
Because
can you fire an owner? Because this guy,
unfortunately, you can't.
He is so bad for the game.
I saw a stat the other day. I wish I could remember it, but it was like Gibbs, I think, is the only winning coach in Redskins history, and they still, as a franchise, have a winning record basically because of him.
By the way, I went to school in Philly, and there's no more annoying fan base than the Redskin fan base. Any listeners, I'm sorry, but your fan base is just appalling to be around. There's that stupid song that they would sing.
Hail to the Redskins.
Oh, God, awful. Everything about the Redskin fan base, terrible. And then mix it in with, like, the Eagle fan base when I was at school. Just
the Eagles.
Light your face on fire being around that all the time. But, you know, what are you going to do?
Well, now the Eagle fans actually have like something to chirp about now because they have a Super Bowl. But it was, unfortunately for them, it was equally as obnoxious like 3 years ago when they had no Super Bowls, and then it's like, no, we'll just keep, yeah. So like egregious fan base and if they win the Super Bowl, just ugh.
Mm-hmm. Insufferable.
So the AFC North, and I'm gonna tell you what your first team is going to be here, Scott.
AFC East.
Excuse me, did I say North? My bad.
You said North.
All eyes North. Shout out Minnesota Vikings. AFC East. We're going to start it off with.
We're starting off with the New England Patriots for sure.
No. We start out circling the wagon.
All right.
That's what we do. We circle the wagon, then you can go.
You know what? Let me get into my Buffalo Bills rant. All right, Patriots, the number's 11. It's a tough number to bet, but this defense is absolutely stacked. But the money is to be made on the next team. The Buffalo Bills, baby. Nobody circles the wagon like the Buffalo Bills. Their over-under number this year is 6.5. It's egregiously low. It's egregiously insulting. This team is going to the playoffs. The Buffalo Bills are going to the playoffs this year.
Bills
Their defense is
back.
stacked. They finally have offensive weapons. Now, let me talk to you about the schedule because it's very, very, very important. They open with at Jets, at Giants, home against the Bengals. Concede me 2 of those wins because the Giants aren't going to have Golden Tate. The Bengals are all banged up, no A.J. Green. The Jets, new coach, a lot of question marks there. Their defensive secondary is just trash. Concede me 2 wins there. So they only need to get me 5 more wins in their remaining 13 games. 2 of those games are against the Dolphins. They have the Redskins. They have the Titans. They have the Ravens. And they have the Broncos. 6.5 is an absurdly low number for this team. The over is lock city. It's my favorite future of the year. Now, I'll tell you, the Vegas must be getting a lot of action because it's minus 180. But I booked a ton of it already. Love the Bills over 6.5. Great defense. Offensive weapons finally for Josh Allen. I'm a little upset that they cut Shady McCoy because I would think they wanted to have 4 backs there so they didn't have to, start feeding Chris Ivory like they did last year. Not that he's on the team anymore, but you get where I'm going at, where they lose weapons in the defensive backfield or offensive backfield, and it's a problem. Love the Bills this year. Over, go to the playoffs, make the playoffs is plus 350. I like that as well. So in the AFC, my 6 playoff teams. Pats, Steelers, Chiefs, and Jags, division winners, Buffalo, and the Cleveland Browns. Those are your 6 teams making the playoffs from the AFC.
Ooh. I like that. I don't disagree. I love the Bills, so you're not going to get any disagreement from me. I think the way that they open the season is actually very interesting from a scheduling perspective. So you're at Jets at MetLife Stadium, then you go at Giants in the same stadium, which is not far from Buffalo, 30-minute flight. I think that's pretty straightforward in terms of how they're going to deal with that. And then they get that home game, opening it up in week 3. I like them a lot. I agree with Scott. I think you could see them start 2, potentially 3-0, and then the Patriots come into town, and they always are sneaky in Orchard Park. I think Scott would even admit that to you as a fan, where they're going to give him a game. So I like Josh Allen. I like where his head's at. I like what I've seen from them in the preseason. I think Sean McDermott is a great coach. I'd put him, I don't know, top, we'll call it top 4 or 5 guys in the league as far as I'm concerned. I think they have exceeded their roster over the last 2 years since he's been there.
He made the playoffs with Tyrod Taylor.
Yeah, I mean, they're significant over exceeding their expectation with the players that are on the roster. So they're going to keep getting better. I like them a lot. I like the over here. I don't like the juice. So as Scott said, unfortunately, part of waiting to have to do this podcast is we've made wagers at lower numbers. I don't know if I'd play it at this number. Minus 180 is absurd. I think playing the make the playoffs at, what is it, plus 3 something, Scott?
Plus 350.
Yeah, I like that one a lot better than playing the number. I'm allergic to paying juice. Yeah. So anything like minus 180 is just distasteful. It's
a tough juice number, but I think after the Open you're going to be pretty pleased with it, especially that you're not. It's over 6.5 and not the 7 number. So I love it. Moving down to the Jets, I have them at 8-8. Their over/under number is 7. I'm not in a rush to bet the Jets just because Adam Gase's road record is just painfully bad as a head coach. They, much like the Redskins, have terrible leadership up top. A team that's been in transition all offseason. It sounds like Gase didn't even want to sign Le'Veon Bell. Their secondary is terrible. They lost Buster Screen, who played the slot, and he played it poorly. Maybe Queen Williams can give them some run-stopping juice, but this is a team that gave up a lot of points last year with a defensive-minded head coach. Now they have an offensive-minded head coach. I know that they have Greg Williams, but I don't think they have the personnel to really play his game. So this is a stay away. The under of 7 is plus 150. I just don't think it's worth betting either side. I think they're right around the 7-8 number. So stay away for sure.
Yeah, no interest. I like Sam Darnold a lot. A lot of question marks on the offensive line, a lot of question marks in the defensive secondary. Scott already mentioned it. Todd Bowles, I think, is a terrible coach, so can't get much worse there. Gase, I don't know. I would agree. Unfortunately, he, like Josh Rosen, kind of went from frying pan to the fryer from the Dolphins to the Jets from an ownership perspective. Don't think either of them is a great organization, and I really hope that a fantastic talent in my eyes and Sam Darnold is not spoiled by being on a shitty team for his entire career.
Did you guys see Jets receiver Quincy Enunwa said in an interview that Adam Gase is definitely crazy? And I think that's the greatest thing. That guy always looks like he either, they have video of him on the sideline before a game doing
smelling salts.
Yeah, smelling salts. He looks like the guy might be the Zodiac killer. Honestly, at this point, I'm not writing it off. He looks. That interview too, when he first got introduced as their head coach, was eyeballs were like the size of saucers. It's like, what are you looking at, man?
He's got to have some serious social anxiety. I do like the story of him after his wife gave birth and he was in the hospital for like 10 minutes. He's like, all right, I got to go. I got a meeting with Peyton Manning. So do respect the hustle, but there's definitely something amiss there with his leadership and his road record in the NFL. It's appalling.
New York City will be a perfect fit for someone with social anxiety. I'm sure
not a lot of people there.
And then last, the Dolphins. I mean, they just gave up their entire team, total dumpster fire. Unfortunately, the number's at 4.5 right now. I'm sure it comes in on the under, but that's just way too low to bet and feel anything good about it. And the market's already moved against them, so you're having serious market overreaction right now. It's not even. You can't bet it, and it's a shame because. I've wanted to like this team. I'm a huge Brian Flores guy, the guy who called the play that was the pick for Malcolm Butler to save the Super Bowl against the Seahawks. I want to like the guy, but they're definitely building for the future and not for this year.
Yeah, total dumpster. And 4.5 is way too low of a number to bet. I feel like you're going to stumble into a couple games, a couple wins just because it's the NFL and the teams are pretty even, but no interest. But I think, Scott, little bonus for the people here. Are the Colts getting to the point where we can bet the over?
Yes.
Do we have a market number?
Absolutely. Let me one more time. Let me check. Let me see what I believe it was at 6.5.
I'm pulling it up. But you said market overreaction, and that
massive.
Struck my mind to think of like this is way too. People forget Jacoby Brissett's been taking all the 1 snaps whole offseason. And I don't think he's that bad.
He's learned from Tom Brady and Andrew Luck.
That worked out well with Matt Castle.
Is that
Matt Castle's a professional check casher, okay?
Yeah.
Don't ever hate the hustle.
I think he went 10-6 his first year.
Holding a clipboard is like holding a clipboard for $6 million a year is like my professional aspiration.
Dream job.
I got the Colts at 7 at -120 on FanDuel in Jersey. So, I like it. I think it's time to bet the over on them.
7? Yeah, 7 over -120. That's fire.
I think this is still a good team with tons of weapons. I mean, they have a plethora of weapons on the offensive side of the ball, and their defense is good. So, a great offensive line, keep Brissett upright, unlike he was like 2 years ago. So, I'm hopping on the train. But that division's all Jacksonville, or it should be.
What was their number 9 before? Or was it 9.5 with Luck?
It was 9.5.
Yeah, I mean that's just not worth 2.5 games. I don't disagree that he's a downgrade. I don't think people would be out of their skull to say that it's not, but not 2.5 games. No way.
Yep. I'm with you. Absolutely.
So that's our NFC. You got something?
No, I don't have anything. But we should talk. We should talk about the Thursday game since we won't have anything out before then.
Okay. That's fair.
Yeah. Let's kick it off. So in the Super Contest, Thursday games are a definite stay away always. But this week, since it's not the typical, you get short rest, I really like the Packers +3. He has a way of just torturing Trubisky or the Bears in Chicago. I don't think this is going to be any different. He's a man on a mission after last year. Shut down all the noise from all the people saying he's the reason for McCarthy getting fired and for all the Packers issues. So I am probably going to be on the Packers money line and spread. And I feel pretty darn good about it.
Yeah, you're scaring me because I feel fantastic. I just hit 3.5 before the podcast -115. So that is a firm recommendation here. I am short the Bears pretty much all year. Not a believer in Mitchell Trubisky, and like Scott, I think that this will be the Aaron Rodgers scorched earth tour for 16 games. I think he is going to put it on some people. A, coming back from injury, but then B, all the stuff that went down with McCarthy, et cetera, et cetera. So I think it's going to get ugly for a lot of people, and I think I expect the Packers to win this game outright. So take the points, take the money line, whatever you want to do, lay it down, get a winner, start out the season 1-0. I'm with Scott, though. This will not be a play for me in any of the contests, just operationally makes it kind of difficult to make the other 4 picks. So despite the fact that, what I would say is, for me at least, generally the confidence level that I have about this would make it a play. But again, operationally, it's tough for me to find the other 4 out there and get them in on time and understand the injuries and the cuts and the trades, and there's a lot of stuff going on. So especially this week, I I will look to stay away.
Yep.
In the contest.
Yep.
If both teams could lose, that'd be great. Thanks, dear Vikings fan.
A tie?
Yeah, that'd be fantastic. No, ties.
It's kind of like a half a win.
If there was a tie, honestly, that'd be so horrible. There were too many ties last year. I think
There was a lot.
if you're leaving
4.
a football field and you end in a tie, I think that just needs to be done with. That needs to be somehow be put away. You just gladiator at that point. You just go Oklahoma drill, but the whole length of the field.
XFL.
Yeah.
XFL kickoffs.
Oh,
Whoever gets the ball wins.
Is this or is this not the XFL?
I think someone actually had a really good idea. Like it starts at the 50 and you alternate plays until one team crosses the opponent's 30-yard line. So you basically turn it into a 40-yard field and you do alternating offense and defense.
Get out of here. Get out of here.
I think you got to see somebody.
What do you want to do?
You got to see
what do you want
somebody
to do?
in the
You
end
want
zone.
ties?
Yeah, I don't mind the ties. If you can't win it in the 10-minute overtime, give them a tie and put the teams at a disadvantage for the rest of the season. Absolutely.
But that's the point. I don't think it's that much of a disadvantage. I would rather have a win and a loss because it's almost like each team gets a half a win and then they have all the tiebreakers.
I don't know.
But I don't mind college. I don't mind college overtimes. You probably are.
It's not going to happen in the NFL.
Winning on the field truther.
I am a win it on the field truther. The college overtime is just like a kid's game. It's a kid's game. It's a kid's game.
Well, they are
That's
18,
because they're kids.
so, but,
That's because they're kids.
so we'll do.
They're
some
not
house-
paid like kids.
Well, that's true.
That's true. Get them.
What do you mean? They get their
paid.
education paid for. That's all they get
Yeah,
paid for.
stupid and worst argument in the world.
Come on, guys.
Somebody said that to me the other day. Like Cam Newton paid for him. I said, yes, we did. And then think of the return on investment.
Yeah, and I did.
$250 for $30 million.
I'd do it.
Try that one
again.
on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is there anyone else that's looking for $250 that's as good as him?
Love that ROI.
Cut the check myself.
If I could sign up for that, I wouldn't work another day in my life. So we'll do some house cleaning issues here. So as we officially hit season, Jared and I are going to do our college football. We're going to record on Thursday nights. So the podcast is out on Friday. And then the three of us are going to get together for Friday and then throw out the show on Saturday. So you have that in order to put that in for hear our picks and whatnot for Sunday. And then we'll do a recap Sunday night, probably at halftime of the either at halftime or Scott thinks there's a window in between the 4 o'clock games and the Sunday night game that we might be able to squeeze one in.
There is absolutely a window. You have 45 minutes between 7:30 and 8:25 kickoff. Perfect.
I think that's bath time.
Scott, are you a television executive? Do you think that these NFL games only take 3 hours? Yeah, we can squeeze it in there. 60 Minutes just gets fisted every week, a show I enjoy consuming.
Oh.
And they just
Shut up.
yeah, this week on 60 Minutes. Oh, no, you'll have to watch it on the internet because NFL football, went for 6 hours.
Well, I've watched enough Weather Channel
Steelers
for
played
the
for
year.
$5.50.
I've watched Weather Channel more this week than I'd ever want to in my entire life.
I love how geared up the weathermen are. Like, it's what they live for.
Yeah.
Like,
Phenomenal job.
We're also plugging along in the best ball draft right now, although some guys are taking a little bit too long to make their picks. I think one guy's been timing out on his 4 hours for the past few rounds. So if you listen and you're in the best ball draft, do us all a solid. And if you're not going to check it, just put it on auto or put on your notifications so we're not waiting 4 hours for picks.
Been timing out.
We're getting
timing out
into
for 4 hours.
Yeah.
It's crazy. But we have, we're in the 14th round of 18, so we're almost done. We're almost there. And I feel pretty good about my team.
I got to look at my team. Who's on your team? I got to figure it out.
Jared's the guy that's been clocking out after 4 hours.
So I did not.
I did get yelled at from another one that we did that I was in with Scott, and I was apparently taking a slow time. I apparently took like an hour because I was in a meeting, and I got yelled at for not
Jared.
stuff.
So the other draft was 8-hour times, and Jared took 5 hours, and some people in my office were pretty displeased with 3 par taking forever. But it's okay, Jared. We'll forgive you.
I know. I got to figure it out. I turned my notifications on. That definitely helped. Because I asked Scott, I'm like, dude, I'm not just like combing my phone for the draft app. Like, can I get told when it's my turn? He's like, yeah, do this. And I did. I got Kyler Murray in like every draft that I did.
Oh, boy.
Oh. You know what?
Love Kyler Murray.
Why is Kyler Murray at the Oklahoma-Houston game right now? Your first NFL start is in a week. Should you not be consuming tape?
Should you not be consuming tape?
And I actually saw a picture of him. He was in Norman last night, so it wasn't even like he came in today.
What are you doing? Get in your playbook.
Maybe he already knows the playbook.
Oh, he's got a defensive front coming for him next week, and a little preview for where I'll be standing on that one.
Maybe old Cliffy just draws him up on cocktail napkins while he's making moves. Although, like that, I don't know, his whole aura got kind of like ruined for me when they're like, yeah, he wakes up at like 3:00 and goes to bed at 8:30 and blah 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 blah.
Sounds like a guy that you should model yourself after, Jared.
Yeah, no, I can't. 8:30. It's after 8:30 right now. Let me talking to you guys. That was like a Michigan after.
After, those Yoopers up there, you gotta watch out for that.
Where the hell did that come from? Yeah, after. Yeah. I'm already talking. I've been listening to too much Chicago Bears preview.
Did you see that Peyton Manning thing though, where he was baptized in the Bears fandom?
Yes.
Bears suck. I was like, yes, this is the content I'm here for. So I gotta give shout outs. So we got Smiley 69300. Giving us.
Ew.
It goes, love listening to you guys and your takes. Can't wait for NFL season to start. Us too, Smiley. It's game time officially, and our boy Jay Trill, 5 stars. All they do is feed us winners.
Winners.
That's what we're here for.
That's what we're here for. So next week the content is here. Balls rolling downhill. The fun begins. I can see Scott licking his lips. He's juiced. He's jacked. He's jacked to the you-know-what. So if you know what movie we're talking about, then you can be our friends. We're about to be playing a nice game of touch football. Wedding Crashers comment there. You can get the Cooper just out there decking people. The hits are coming.
Cooper.
Everyone's juiced. We're all juiced. So thanks so much for tuning in. Once again, please rate, review, subscribe. We appreciate it.
Buffalo Bills. Don't forget it.
Circle that wagon. So for myself, Michael Larson, Big Brother Jared Larson, and the one, the only Scott Panza, thanks so much for tuning in. Next week, the content and the winners are coming. So stay tuned. You rock.
See ya.